let's relate this back to Clipper Marine, who we heard from a few moments ago. And Margarete, this leads on very nicely to this issue of home or office working, and issues like how do you assess the health and well-being of your employees if they're not with you, and so on. What are your thoughts on that area?
Yeah, look, I think it's coming up for everybody. Health and well-being is at the heart of this pandemic, and it's a concern for all employers right now. How do we make sure that our customers and our employees and our partners are safe and secure? So lots of organisations taking different steps. I think the first and foremost is social distancing, looking at us all today, you know. I think making sure those offices are secure. I'll actually just allude to a device that we have here, which is our thermal vision solution. It's a really simple cart solution that can be deployed anywhere, but we also have a centralised version of this, and that really just assesses accurate body temperature going in. It has a longer term use cases as well. So lots of technologies are coming out to really safeguard workplaces and lock down public places to make sure that they're secure for people. And this technology is great. It's fueled by AI, and it also kind of gives you that accurate data reading as well around thermal technology.
Fascinating. I thought it was something that was going to balance the wheels on my car or something, wasn't it?
No, definitely not.
It won't. It won't do that. And also that, because there are different ideas out there, but that, I gather, will tell whether you've got a face covering on.
It does, absolutely. So it can absolutely do mask verification. It can tell you whether people are social distancing or not. It can do real-time alerts. So lots of use cases around this. The key is a lot of organisations are rushing to deploy safety and security solutions right now. This pandemic is around for a while, and hopefully we'll move to a recovery, a fast recovery stage. But regardless, the investment in these technologies goes way beyond the use cases for a pandemic. Like, this can be deployed for smart buildings, for measuring footfall, for wider security purposes. And so it's about making smart technology decisions, not just once in a lifetime getting through this pandemic. And so I think thermal vision solutions, absolutely. But I think the need here is around creating safe workplaces that are secure. It goes back to Mark's point around trust. How do we build that trust with customers and with partners and with employees so that they can come back if they want to, as Melinda said, into safe workplaces?
But let's go back to Clipper Marine and, of course, the issue of home working. Considerations that need to be made, presumably, about equipment, processes, policies. What needs to be taken into account there, and are companies doing it?
They are absolutely doing it. I think some of them are doing it in patchwork ways, but I think a lot of them are taking quite a strategic, systemic approach right across the organisation, assessing what their processes are, really assessing which staff need to go back in for critical services, what data is going to be critical, how is it backed up, how is it secured. So we are seeing quite a catapult of transformation at an accelerated pace going on. So I think, yeah, absolutely, organisations are getting ready. And for Clipper Marine, this is a big shift, right? I think we heard on the clip that, flexibility really wasn't there. Employees had to come in at 8 a.m. And we're seeing all kinds of patterns emerging around the lifestyle of employees and customers now as well. So for that insurance company, major shifts. For other customers, they may already have had some of these practices in place around agility, flexibility and resilience. So it just depends on the maturity of their digital maturity, essentially, and how far advanced they are around that.
Okay. Open for your thoughts clearly on this one, thoughts that are coming up in your mind about how it's working or not working at your organisation. What do we do? How do we pick up on these ideas? How do we share them? Do throw your thoughts to us, and I will pick up on them. In the workplace, then, have Clipper Marine got it right from what we heard there in the scenario? Are they putting the right things in?
I think they're starting to. At least the efforts sound good. I don't know if it's all down to the lady that's driving the transformation. I think it has to be adopted by the full board, the leadership team. This is a team effort to get through this, and actually to make sure that it's creating long-term value, right? This is not a short-term transformation project that stops and we revert back to the old ways. This is going to be how it is longer term, right? And so it gives us a chance to sit back and reflect, as Clay said, around what is the future model. It also gives Clipper Marine a chance to really reassess what their purpose is, right? What are they really here to do? What's their core strategy? How are they going to serve their customers in a digitally savvy way longer term, and really shift that business model, a mind shift. So I think never waste a good crisis, and this is the time to really accelerate that transformation.
We're getting some lovely phrases out of this. Never
say this one other thing that companies need to think about, and that is human beings, we're social animals, and so there is a mental health issue, I think, that we need to consider. We're not built to work from home 100% of the time. I've been in the same office since March, and I'm actually really loving being here, even though I have to wave. But I do think there's a duty of care of employees around mental health. So whether that is providing, for example, remote gym classes, down the video, or whatever it happens to be, but a support network as well for employees. I believe we shouldn't forget that.
Okay, I hope we can talk more about that. Can I pick up on something which, Clay, I think you were sort of, I could feel you empathising with this thought about the team all buying into what needs to be done.
Yeah, so I think there's two things. One, I heard the Clipper story, and I lost track of who all the people were, so forgive me for that. But it sounded like the CIO was that had been handed this responsibility. Right, that's a mistake.
This was this Angela, I think.
Yeah, but anyway,
that's a mistake.
That's a mistake. It's not a CIO problem, right? Now, you can have them be the vehicle, right? But it's a board-level issue that requires the full business engagement, because it's not a question of just giving people IT. You're going to have to rethink your business and your business processes in many cases, right? Building on that for a second, the place that I think BYOD really doesn't work is, and we don't have a great solution for yet, is when you're dealing with customers' information, personal data, right? So this is insurance, right? Banking, you go down the list, I mean, parts of public sector. So the way that we've set that up as a society, generally speaking, is effectively, we built a wall, which means if you come into a facility, then you can access the customer information. But then if you're outside that facility, you can't.
And there, the wall is a completely physical wall.
It's a physical wall. I mean, it's an IT wall too, but yes. But literally, it's getting into the building. And when you get into these buildings, you hand in your devices. Because what you can't do is have somebody snapping a picture or whatever else. Now, there's other ways to determine whether that's happened, but you want to make it harder, right? You want to get a triple threat in terms of protecting that customer information. It's not the only way. But you really do create a new paradigm, security paradigm, if in fact you're now letting people to carry in devices or access customer information on their own personal devices. There's technology that helps identify when that's happened, right? So there's other things you can do to make that easier, but it is a fundamental business problem, and that's where the business transformation comes in. So now you think about, if I go digital and I remove all those handoffs, right? Is there a way for me now to not have people touch the customer information? Do they have to touch that customer information? Right? Can we anonymize it so you can't see it and still be productive? Because if you did that transformation, then you could think about those people that had to be inside the building being outside the building.
But this does seem like quite a sticking point, doesn't it? And for Clipper Marine, if they're taking, I mean, they're an insurance company, and taking their work home.
Yeah.
Is difficult. Maybe solutions on this one, please. How do we deal with this? Because you can't tell if somebody's at home and taking a photo of the information that's on the screen.
Yeah.
What do we do?
I think the role of automation, AI technology here as well. Can we remove in some way those handoff points and that personal contact? And I think we're seeing that, right? It's not either technology or the human, it's actually the augmentation of technology here with humans. And I think for some of that sensitive data, we can really eliminate the risk by leveraging technology. The solutions are there, people need to access them. We could take you through lots of them, Clay. But honestly, I think, a lot of that is about really leveraging technology to augment some of these archaic and somewhat analog processes where we've said they have to be physically touched. In insurance, it's a fairly bureaucratic process, right? Signing up for a new policy, I've just moved house. And the forms that we had to fill out, literally, it was pretty old school. So I think it's a real ripe opportunity to totally kind of revamp this process and actually remove manual handoffs.
How could Clipper Marine, our example, how could they safeguard devices, data, networks, between home and office? Is there something which we heard in that scenario which you would say, well, what they need to do is?
Absolutely. So I think on the devices, endpoint security being number one, really trying to look at what kind of policies they've got for BYO devices and for for business devices and making sure those endpoints are protected. For the networks, a lot of people are working in different places. They're using public or private networks, making sure those are protected. Really trying to make sure that we use software-defined networking as well to really try and protect and drive greater control over those networks. I think the other area is IoT, right? We're seeing an absolute surge. I know, we've got 3 Alexas in our house. So, you know, those are listening to our and I think they're brilliant, but I think also they're listening to some of those conversations. So being mindful of those IoT exposure points and really trying to lock those down and secure them. So there are technologies there, they are all there. It's being mindful of those. And I think this comes down to awareness and education and broadening it out to make sure that it's down to each and every one of us to really provide those safeguards and put them in place and be proactive around it.
Just going to move on to our next scenario in a second. One more thought, if I can, from you,
sure.
Which is you carried out a survey, didn't you? Was it 250 companies, executives you talked about in terms of the attacks they'd had, and they were up, and this is real.
Absolutely. So we are seeing a third of an increase for banking clients at the moment in terms of ransomware attacks and phishing attacks. We're certainly seeing it in the retail sector as well, with data being replicated. So huge number of cyber attacks on the increase right now. And so bringing it back down to trust, really it is so important to protect that data and really lock it down. And it's not an issue just for the CISO or for the IT function, it is for every single function. We're seeing new supply chains being reinvented overnight as organizations have had to adapt to using local suppliers, new third parties, onboarding them. And so really bringing in that multi-factor authentication, looking at risk management right across the organization is key. So I think actually continually doing this, building resilience is not a one-stop shop. You don't just build it and it stops. This is a journey, and we're going to have to keep assessing it as new environments set up, as organizations change their office configuration, they change their real estate configuration, people work in different ways. So this is going to continue on, right? And we need to get comfortable with the uncertainty around that and put the right technologies and behaviors in place.
Dealt with wrongly, it is a threat. Otherwise, it's a challenge.
Absolutely.
We know what we're facing. That's. Thank you for your thoughts on that, and thank you, Margaret, particularly for your input there. And I think we all wish. Was it Angela Boyd?
That's it.
I think we wish her well in
do.
succeeding, and perhaps we'll come back to that in the new year and find out how she got on. I don't know.